Inside Abode, ladies and gentlemen, how are y'all doing? I'm your host, Dave Jones, and we have another episode of the Inside Abode podcast. I have my special guest today, and before I talk about the guest, subscribe to the podcast, and we're going to be really quick on this one. We're going to be, I want to, because there's a lot to talk about in a short amount of time. So, my guest today is Heidi Hurst from the Heidi Hurst team. How are you doing, Heidi?
I'm doing great. I love my job. I love talking to you. Like, let's talk. Let's talk about what's happening.
And the sun is out today too. The sun is out today, so
big help.
That does a lot.
Yes.
So let's just get right into it. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of news swirling. I want to talk about the other side of this. Like, What are you thinking about from an agent perspective?
Oh, I am thinking about the fact that I'm a professional. And I am hired by my clients to do a professional job. And it's my responsibility to communicate my value, to communicate my skills and my expertise to my potential clients. And I think that as people are making decisions and asking questions, what are the answers that I'm trying to give? You know, when there's a lot of inflammatory news about what's happening in the real estate market, it feels like somebody's questioning my integrity. And so I can honestly just be a little defensive about that, because that's one of my triggers. Like, I love my job, and I have spent almost 19 years like studying and learning and getting new designations and like taking classes. And you know, I just did a waterfront title class because I've got clients looking at waterfront, and I've sold it before, but what's changed, what's new? So I really have a responsibility to articulate my value. And I think that my clients who've worked with me, most of them many times, or even somebody new coming in, I still need to articulate that value. So I know that there's just a lot of noise out there, and what can I control? I can control just serving my clients with the highest level of expectation. Our word this year for our team is elevate. How can we elevate the experience or the education or the information that we can put out there? So that's what's on my mind.
I love it. And you know, the part about that caught me was when you said, like, it felt like someone, not attacking might be the wrong word, but someone's questioning the way that the job that you do. And I've been through this before with education, when I was in teaching, and the No Child Left Behind came down the pipe way. And so it kind of was like, it was demoralizing for us teachers, because we were like, well, I thought we were doing a good job. And it became a national conversation of the job that we weren't doing. Right. And so it feels similar in terms of like this questioning of, and for good reason, because there are some bad, in that case, bad teachers, and there are bad real estate agents out. Let's be real. Like, I'm just being frank. And bad might be the wrong word. Uninformed or not full service real estate agents are out there. So when we think about, like, what we were talking about earlier before this is, you know, as people know, buyer's agents are going to, you know, we're decoupling the commission and yada, yada, yada. So the value that a real estate agent brings, because it feels like it's hard, because some of the things that we can't talk about because of client privilege, and, you know, we can't put that information out there during the transaction. But what would be some of the types of things that you would like people to know about the job that you do that is not being told in the media or in these narratives that are out there?
Well, I guess I'm going to just start with, we have decoupled the commissions here in the state of Washington. So I'm going to say that, and that's been in play with the Northwest MLS for a few years, 5 years, 4 years. Sorry, don't know the exact timeline. So we've already done that. And my value to a buyer is the sit down for an hour and a half education of what are you looking for, finding out what they want, and then also educating them as to the process of purchasing a home, what the contract says, what their responsibilities are, what the expectations are. You know, I ask people, I have a lot of clients in the military, and I'm like, if I had to step in and do your job for the next 3 months and tried to sit here and explain everything to me about your job, like, how well would that go? But no, like, I'm trying to tell you the things that you really need to know. And of course, we're going to be here. So that education about what the process is, working with somebody who's going to communicate that with you, who's going to give you documentation and explain things to you. Because there's so many things that we can control in a real estate transaction, and there's so many things that we can't. So
there's a lot of things you can't control, which is why I feel like their value is like immense because of the things that nobody can control that just happen, and you have to help your people navigate that.
Right, exactly. So that's the first thing. And then understanding the market, what's happening in the market, what homes are selling quickly, what homes are not, what price points. So really understanding your client, understanding that they have to go out and look at homes. You can't buy a home online by just looking at it online. Have we done that with clients? Yes, we've done that. It's terrifying for us. But we haven't had any client who's had a regret on that because we are very clear about the positive things. We can save a buyer a lot of money by walking up to a house and noting all the things because we've sat in on hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of inspections, what might come up, what might cost them money. And maybe they don't have $30,000 to put a new roof on a house. And so that's the conversation, pointing out kind of all the negative things about a house while they're acknowledging all the things that they're falling in love with. So we're the logic behind that negotiation or that home and trying to just sort out whether it's going to be a big decision. And in that listening process and that education process, we're finding out about what they really want. And so if they like fall in love with a house that maybe doesn't have what they told us, we just question them. Hey, it doesn't have a dining room. You said a dining room was really important. Oh yeah. You know what? You're right. It doesn't. So instead of just selling them the house, making sure we're asking the clarifying questions. So that would be like number 2.
Sorry. Yeah, go. I have a question for you. And this is just not me being facetious. Maybe I am a little bit.
Feel free.
You have a coach, right? Like you need some coaching. And do you feel like if you're making major decisions that you get emotional, like in decisions that you get emotional, you're thinking in clear mind a lot. Like I would say for me, no. Like I have a counselor and a coach for that reason because I'm not always in sound mind. Like I'm not always thinking about all the things that I need to be thinking about, especially when it comes to the biggest purchase of my life.
Right, yeah.
So,
my coach,
I don't know,
I'm always saying to my coach, well, I really feel like it would be like this. And she's like, well, let's be pragmatic. What's the pragmatic answer to that? And I'm like, I love you, Misty, right? Here's the numbers. Here's how it's going to work out. So, coaching.
That's hard to quantify for a potential, for someone that's looking to buy or sell a home. They don't understand that after you go under contract, there's that 30 days of now you have to go through the process, right?
Right. And we call it a roller coaster ride. Oh my gosh, we found the house. It's so exciting. Or they go out the first day and they don't find the house. And they're like, oh, we can't believe we couldn't find anything. And it's like, got to keep going. And then, oh my God, we found the house. And then we do the inspection. And how are we going to negotiate this? And then, then we're trying to give all the lender all of our financial information. And where do we have that? And why didn't we save that? And so it's this big roller coaster ride. And so we use that GIF a lot in our real estate transactions because it is very exciting, but when we first sit down with our clients, we set that expectation. Here are the things that are going to be coming so that they understand that. In a real estate transaction, you're negotiating through inspection. In 90% of the market that I've been in almost 19 years. So most buyers are doing their inspection. We're in a state of buyer beware. What connections do we have with contractors and inspectors who can get out and do their inspection and reply back in a timely manner. And then also, how do we negotiate the biggest terms that we can on behalf of the buyer without completely insulting the seller, right? We're here to advocate for our buyer, but we don't, sometimes if the buyer really loves the house, what's the best way to get two people to come together? So working with somebody who's got some negotiating skills, right? The person who pauses, who speaks the least, has more power in a situation. So if I'm in a negotiation with a other broker that's talking like this, I'm just sitting back, just listening, because the person who talks the most has the most to lose. So very conscientious of that. How do we pause? How do we get everybody to pause when emotions are running high? And then how do you find solutions? We had a client in the military who bought a house from us, and then he went out and did some work in the backyard, and guess what? He was on a septic system
Oh,
and
yeah.
destroyed his drain field.
Oh,
So how did we like help him get in touch? Because then he had to hook up to the city main, right? How did we get him
yep.
in touch with the right person? And he knew he had a
You're the
septic
plug.
system. Yep.
You're the plug.
Yeah. So we helped worked it through with the potential buyer. We put his house on the market, worked with the contractor, bless them, all city construction who like would trusted the relationship that we've built with them to get paid out of the closing so that my client didn't have to put money in front. I mean, that's one situation, but there are thousands of those situations. Appraisals
Right.
coming in low, appraisers being very particular about what exactly they want in a repair on a home. Working with the lender. I just had a deal that was supposed to close in the middle of February, and it closed on March 20th because the buyer lost financing, switched lenders, so
Oh,
many
man.
conflicts, right? So the communication. Friday night at 8:45, talking with the lender who was trying to practically in tears because she's having such a hard time getting the underwriter. How do we keep
Yep.
that whole situation
Yep.
calm for the buyer and the seller for things that are outside of their control? So there's a
No,
lot of
that's
things that happen during that inspection process and through the closing process to try to help our buyers understand and then work towards their best benefit, right?
yeah, and I think with all of this too, I think it's important to add to people who may say like, what is a realtor's value in the home buying process is we counted this morning. I think there's like upwards of 255 forms
Right.
in the Northwest MLS, all with contract language, right?
Right.
And that's not counting our Windermere forms. So that might be another 50 or so. Who knows?
Right. Right.
25. I don't know. But,
Yeah.
so that's a lot of forms for someone to, and I'm not saying you use all of them, but what I'm saying is that's how many forms we have for all of the different things that can happen in a real
Right.
estate transaction that you might need.
Right.
And that's a lot. So like if someone's trying to do that or has a question about your value, all the things that you talk about, there's a form that goes along with that with
Right.
contract language on it that
Correct.
can impact not only the sale or the transaction in the moment, but also how we do things moving forward or you can or can't do in terms of, oh, I need to go back. Like once anyway, it's just,
Right.
there's so much that you guys have to know and
Right.
understand in this. And I just don't know if, and this is maybe going a little deeper, in America, we don't negotiate a lot.
Right.
I think it was either we talked about this or someone, I don't know if we talked about this,
Right.
but we don't negotiate on a regular basis. And so
Right.
now you're going to get into this situation. And now hopefully you have a negotiator or someone that's good at negotiation because that's what you guys do every single day.
Right.
And for
Right.
someone that might be considering doing it themselves, I'm like, okay, well, now you're in a negotiation and you're
Right.
not one person removed, you're in it. So you're going to get emotional. Therefore, you're
Right.
probably not going to be a better negotiator because you are emotional about this. It's
So true.
just not. You need a
Right.
realtor. You
Right.
need a real estate agent to help you through this because this is what we do, especially the
Yeah.
skilled professional ones like yourself.
Right. Right. Yeah. And with 255 different forms of pieces of legality, those forms and those portions of the contract are put together to protect both the buyer and the seller to make a
Right. Yep.
reasonable expectation of results. And so it doesn't favor one or the other, but it sets an expectation and all the parties have to agree to whatever form is put in there. And so the education of talking to our clients about that. And we fill out those forms, we're held to the standard of an attorney. And so, when things don't go well, guess who they're going to look at is the real estate agents.
Right.
So we take on so much liability in that. The great thing about Windermere and Windermere Abode is, I've been in this business a long time and I get to call Anne and say, Anne, help me kind of sort this out. Like, I think this is my understanding of the contract or this form that I haven't used in 3 years. Let's just go through it real quick.
Right.
And we also have the opportunity to consult with attorneys, which I didn't have at my last brokerage.
Yep.
So that is of tremendous value to have that support behind as you're trying to help your clients negotiate through the biggest financial decision that they
Yeah.
may be making.
Because if
So,
you're not there, then they have to come up with their own attorney, I'm sure,
right,
and it's not a real estate attorney. So then that attorney might have to find a real estate attorney, and then
right,
now all of a sudden you might not have your answer until who knows when we can get that
exactly.
answer to you. And I mean, I
Yep.
just think that there's so many. I think in this we were talking about this. We're talking in a bubble a lot, like about this, about our situation right now, in my opinion. Like, and so there's two camps. There's like the media narrative, and then there's us, and we're talking like, hey, we need to protect we need to articulate our value better. Not protect anything. We need to articulate our value better. We need to do
Correct.
a better job. We haven't been doing a good job at that.
Right.
And I just feel like most people, though, the general public, and this is just my general thought,
Yeah.
I think most people understand that they need a real estate agent to do
Correct.
to navigate this home purchase.
Right.
I just really do, because if I didn't feel that way, then why would I be doing what we're doing? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I do agree that there are technologies out there that can make things more convenient, but there's this thing called humans and emotions.
Right.
And when we're talking about homes, it's a very sentimental
Right.
thing for a lot of
It
people.
is. Mm-hmm.
And so I just don't feel like you can take that element away, or it just won't go away
It won't
for
go away.
most.
No.
So you need someone to help you through that, in my opinion,
Yeah. I would
a
agree with that.
professional.
Yeah.
And that's what we are.
Well, I'm going to tell the story that was passed
Yeah.
on. Somebody in our office took her a long time. I'm going to say 7 years to get divorced. Not in our office specifically, but it was a conversation we had. It took me, I hired an attorney and she was doing it herself. I hired an attorney, it took 7 months. So that's the difference. And every time something came up, trying to find a solution, trying to understand, where I got to call my attorney and ask the question, right? What does this mean?
Yep.
Help me out. So, and that was a big financial, decoupling of, finances and emotions and all that. And I really needed a professional in that situation
Yeah.
to keep me calm, to keep me focused on what the end goal was. And so I believe in buyer representation. I believe that sellers should be represented. I think that there is a value to have somebody who's advocating for you, who's educated and informed, and can also be empathetic, sympathetic to the situation that you're in, and try to keep the emotions at bay while still being emotional about it. So,
And you know what I was just thinking about? I'm going to take the opposite approach to this whole situation. I think this is
yeah.
probably the best thing to happen to our industry in a long time. And here's why. Because now we have to talk about our value. We don't have a
Right.
choice now. We've talked about it before, but I just don't feel like we've been detailed about that and told
Right.
as much as what we do. And I
True.
think we have to I think this is going to force us to really, and it's going to force people to look at us and be like, are we worth what? And now we're going to have to say like, yes. And this
Yeah.
is why. Boom, 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 boom.
Right.
And it's
Right.
at least a topic of conversation up front, as
True.
opposed to us having to like defend it, if that makes sense. Like
Absolutely.
people are
Absolutely.
making, and hopefully in a sense, I believe that with this, we get, mentioned amongst lawyers and doctors and professionals,
Right.
firefighters, policemen, like you have a real estate agent. And
Right. Teachers.
I understand, and I'm going to be pretty transparent here. I understand why people feel the way they do. They might, some people might feel the way they do because the barrier to entry is not as high as some other professions, maybe in terms of the
Right.
time that you have to put in to do it.
Right.
But I will tell you, this is every bit as difficult as any of those other professions.
Right. Yep.
And this is just coming
100%.
from someone who has had a master's degree and has gone through school to do some things and has done it.
Right.
This is every bit as difficult.
Right.
So anyway, I guess we'll end on that. Do you have any other ending thoughts before we get out of here?
I think that as an industry, it's hard for us to articulate our value unless you're articulating your value by your actions with your clients. So people who don't have transactions with you or haven't had a great experience, they have every right to be questioning, to be, thoughtful. And so I don't diminish that at all. I do believe that if you've provided a great service for your client and you've really looked out for them, that they will continue to come back and work with you because you're not just doing a transaction, you're really helping them buy and invest in their biggest financial decision that they may be making at the time. And there's so many other things that we need to talk about as far as barrier to, being able to get in to purchase a home and what these changes are going to mean for people who've just been trying their best to save their money. So that's a whole different topic.
It's a whole other, Oh, this is not the last podcast we're going to be talking about this. Trust me, we have plenty to talk about in terms of articulating our value. This is just the tip of the iceberg.
Sure.
Folks will be hearing more about what we do in detail, and I'm excited at the challenge of that. And I'm also excited at the possibility of people better understanding what we do because we're more forthcoming about what we do. So I'm excited for those two things.
Conversation, Dave, so much that we get to have this space and this venue to really talk about the solutions that we're finding on behalf of our clients, and what we're learning and what we're doing as an industry to be better, to level up, to elevate.
Yep, we're going to do that. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, this is not the last discussion. You will hear us talking about our value and what we do, not only just at Windermere Abode, but as an industry, what we strive to be in terms of just real estate agents in this profession. So, I want to make sure that we're turning this narrative into something positive, and let's move forward. Let's move forward and charge forward. And this is what it is. And nothing's confirmed yet, but I mean, we know what's at stake and what we have to do. So, and we're going to do.
And we're still helping people buy and sell homes.
Oh yeah, that's what we do.
That's what we do. This is our career that we've chosen. This is our life. I love what I do. I feel so blessed. I get to get up and do this every single day of my life, even the days that are hard, because I walk away and learn something new to take to the next one. So thank you. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you taking time today. We both have meetings to get to. How can people reach you if they need to reach you?
Oh, they can find me, Heidi Hurst, Heidi Hurst team on the internet. You can go to the Windermere Abode website and find me as well. You can call me. I am available and would love to start a conversation with anybody who would like to work with a top-notch professional in the area. Let's go.
There you go. Bang. All right. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see y'all next time. Windermere Abode, Inside Abode, and we'll see y'all next time. Peace.
Thanks, Dave.